Well, now that we got the core all cleaned out on this radiator, we're going to clean the exterior of it here. So we're going to get scrubbing on it, get everything cleaned up real good, get all the fins straightened out, all the dirt and grease off of it.
Pretty funky coming out.
Yeah, it's definitely dirty down there.
See that? Yum.
Just so it starts dripping, and we know that it's not coolant. You don't actually have to remove it. It's leaking out yet?
Yeah, a little.
Is it just oil?
Yeah.
Okay, put it back in. We got in here and doing the tune-up, and we noticed there's quite a bit of rust in here. Definitely on top of the Jake brakes, a little bit on the rockers, even the fuel rail's got some on there, the rack. I was a little concerned by it, but we went through the last two oil analysis, and there's zero coolant in the oil. We dropped the drain plug, there's no coolant in the oil. So this must be from before the engine was rebuilt and they just put the parts back on like that. But there's no signs of elevated iron or even coolant in the oil samples, the two previous ones, and it was only 5,000 miles ago for the last one. So looks like it's just something that is on this engine because it sat for quite a while in the field at some point. Well, we did get confirmation that about 7 years ago, before this engine was rebuilt, it had coolant in the oil. So that's a pre-existing condition. We know now that it's not a current issue. There's no elevated levels of iron in the oil samples. So if we mess with it, we're really going to risk contaminating the other parts of the system. It's been on there 7 years ago. They rebuilt this engine and put it back together like that. We would have liked to have seen it cleaned up, but you know, I don't see the point to it at this point. It's not worth messing with. So stand it up on end here. Boards between it. And I'm gonna try and beat the shit out of it. You ready?
Ready.
Hopefully that one doesn't come flying towards me.
Cleaner too.
Let's take a look at it, because that looks pretty good from here. It's got a little grease on it, but nice. So we're installing this block heater that goes directly in the side of the block there. There's a big opening for it right there underneath of the manifold. As long as it's unused, this is the best kind of block heater you can get. It goes right in there. but sometimes you can't do it. It needs to go in that direction because it snakes around some stuff in there, so it kind of goes in and around to the side, and it needs to be vertical. If you had it horizontal, it wouldn't fit. There you can see how the hole's blocked, except for around the left-hand side there. That's where we gotta go in at. Got some gasket to scrape off, unfortunately. That's gonna be difficult. Yep. I don't think so. Support gasket on the radiator. So these Coney shocks are adjustable for softer or stiffer ride. So if you take them and you squeeze them together, and then you turn the top clockwise, it makes them stiffer. If you turn it counterclockwise, it makes it softer. And we're gonna go with stiff on the front end of this bus. These are the heater valve replacements that we just got. Exact same as what was there, but they actually work. There's the new shutdown cylinder mounted. Okay, test the switch. And one more time. Perfect, thank you. So Jonathan fabricated a bracket to be able to mount that air dryer to the wall in there. Welded on a couple little tabs. Here, go right away.
It works.
Nice. Well, we got the new air dryer in here mounted. We had to fabricate a mounting bracket for it. The old one had this kind of a bracket. It was way too big and there was no way to adapt it to it. So we made a plate. We got everything figured out on the plumbing on it. We got some adapters here. I just need to get 90-degree fittings here instead of a straight in, so the hoses aren't coming back out of the way. So 90-degree, this will come right up. This one right here will go right in 90, and the one over here will come in at a 90 coming down from the side. So we got everything here to replumb it. We just had to order a couple more fittings. I said 90s, but we wanted to get the original one. Then there was no replumbing we had to mess with, no fittings. And we wouldn't have the labor of making a mount for it and figuring out how to get that to fit in there. But I think it's nice. It's out of the way. It's up against the wall. The spitter will dump out right there where the old one did. Maybe stick a funnel in that hole and it'll definitely get it out through there. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. Your knuckles. Don't hurt yourself. It's spinning the whole thing. These are really small pullers. They're great for doing that. This is the drive gear for the compressor. Okay, we got it all installed. This was able to actually reach to here. I only had to use one coupler to extend that one just a little bit, and then a little coupler on the small one down there too. It's lined up directly over a hole that's down there, and we could put a hose on it, link a hose and go straight out. We would have to drill the hole bigger. I'm just gonna have them set a funnel there. Anything that comes out of here will go into there. We do still need to wire up the heater on it, but it's just about wired. That has a heater on the bottom so the moisture doesn't freeze in the wintertime when the water starts coming out of the system. But it's a nice clean install, and it's out of the way. Looks real good. Whatever these wires are, they're just kind of hanging out here, like they're supposed to be together, maybe. Might want to try and figure out where those go to. There's no wire nut laying here, like we knocked something off. But, wow, looks important. Yeah, got an extra one of these laying around. In case you're ever wondering on the diagram, and this is the inlet, this is the delivery, and this is the controls. This one goes back to the governor, it tells it when to purge when the air compressor shuts off, and that's the air going into it, and that's the air going out into the bus. That should be dry at this point after it goes through the desiccant and cools in the coil and desiccant. And then so the heater on here keeps this warm so the moisture doesn't freeze up and it'll plug up with ice and get stuck open, or it's usually what happens. This one's mounted in the engine bay, so it's probably a lot less likely to happen, but it still can happen. So this fitting has to come out in order to get to these little Allens here. It would have been nice if that was a hex bolt where you could just throw a wrench on it and leave it all together. You need help, or you got it?
Were they ground material off of it for it to balance?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
That brake drum was $750 each. Took us about 2.5 weeks to get those here. So happy that they're finally on there. Everything looks good now. Here's our new compressor. We're getting all the fittings swapped around, everything clocked in the right position. We need a plug. We can't get the plug out of the top yet. We even heat it with a torch. So that's a 1/2-inch pipe plug, no big deal. I'll get that from the parts store tomorrow. This has a remote run, whatchamacallit here, the air governor doesn't mount on the compressor. It's remote mounted. It's probably the easiest one to ever change either. I had all the gaskets for those fittings, and I have the gasket for that one here somewhere. It's right there. This gasket we didn't have, it didn't come with it. So I'm cutting one. I don't really want to use this material. I was just testing it out. I'm gonna cut it on one of these. I just need do a little better job than this one. We have a very serious thunderstorm coming here in just a little bit. About an hour it's gonna be here. Tornado watch and everything. It's pretty serious this morning. We've had 3 days of really bad thunderstorms, but looks like today's gonna be the worst. Cotter pin through there. New gaskets on there. I went with the felt paper kind. Where it's got those little slits, can you put a bolt in the bottom and it'll rest on it or no? Well, not if you gotta turn it though. Fuck.
Excuse me.
We're gonna try and clean this sight glass out. It's all pretty caked over. So the glass was a little hazy, so I went in there with some toothpaste on a giant Q-tip on a stick, just to buff it out a little bit. Definitely see through it, no problem. Definitely working. Oh, geez. Yeah. Go knock on the door for Kelly. I don't want her to go by the door and let the dogs out, though. Kelly, come here. There it goes.
We'll protect us to stay warm when we freeze our butts off.
Yeah, I can see it. It froze, and you can see the crack. See where it's busted in half there?
Yep.
So there must have been moisture in there waiting to get ejected, and it froze and cracked the housing. We're gonna replace that air governor there. I had mentioned the guy says put a new compressor on it, we should replace it with a new one. And then I said this is something you should always carry a spare of. So we went ahead and ordered 2 of them. A new one that's going on, he's gonna have a brand new spare to carry. This thing will leave you stranded. And I told him, I said, this thing is what tells the compressor when to turn on and off. He goes, oh yeah, ours hasn't been turning on at the right pressure, and the distance between on and off has been increasing random. That's what happens when they get gummed up with oil and stuff inside. So it makes sense if the old compressor was passing oil that some of the air systems aren't gonna be quite right. So replacing this with a new one, and then I got him a brand new spare to carry around. So I ordered this auto moisture ejector valve to replace the one that was on there that had frozen. This one does not have a heating element. They do make some that have heating elements. And after talking to Guy about it, we're just going to not put this on. We put a pull chain drain in the bottom, and he's just gonna use that because this could still freeze and break again. And now that he has a working air dryer on there, I don't think it's necessary anyway. So I'm gonna send this back and save him about 150 bucks by not putting it on.
Thank you, sir. Find out. Ten seconds and shut it down.
Yep. Clear. Whoa, stop. Hold on. Time out. Climb out of there.
Did you see a spark?
Major sparks.
Right about the dipstick tube?
Down by the starter somewhere, yeah.
That's what Tyler saw the last time.
Holy cow. This is like the 4th of July.
Yeah, hang on, it's an easy fix.
Well, this was embarrassing. On this bottom of the air compressor, we sat it here and we made sure we put all the plugs and fittings in it, and this is where the oil line goes into it, and put it on the bus and did everything on it. And then we looked, well, we started it and it had a massive oil leak, there's a plug in the bottom right there that was left open when they shipped the new compressor. So this one was open, we put a fitting in it. We never saw that this one was empty, and so as soon as we started the bus, about a quart of oil before we saw it had leaked out of that little hole down there. So put an 1/8 inch pipe plug in it and fixed the oil leak, but that's kind of embarrassing that we missed that. Yeah. Okay, so now that we're totally level with the airbags, we're 6,000 exactly right there. And 6,100 on this side. That's 11,000. So the air governor on the end, there's a little cap you remove, and there's an adjustment screw in there. And if you turn that clockwise, you can lower the pressure. It's currently cutting off at 140 psi, and I want it to be about 125. So we're gonna make an adjustment on that. We turned in one quarter of a turn is about 4 psi. So about 1 full revolution should get us there.
See that white smoke rising up the holler through the trees, and from a mile away you can hear them play as they climb that hill with ease. But at the top of that mountain there's a new life waiting for those who can make the run. If they can make it to the top, Scott will put them in the shop till their new life has begun. Mountain, where the buses come to run. Bus Grease Mountain, we're gonna get that big job done.